Did you know you could emboss Braille lettering with your Cricut? Want to learn how? Well, stay tuned, as that's what I'm going to show you in this video. Hi, I'm Kay of CleverSomeday.com. Several of you have asked if my Cricut embossing technique can be used for Braille. And while I always figured it could, I've just now got it down to a simple process that I'm ready to show you. I want to preface this by saying that I am not a Braille expert. I've researched this and tried to get it close to the U.S. specifications for printed Braille, but admittedly my knowledge is limited. So this can really be considered more a proof of concept. When you find errors, please break them to me gently. I'll also admit that the method I'm going to show you is limited and inefficient, but it gives good results and is simple enough for anyone to do. What you're going to need for this project is a Cricut Maker and the Maker Debossing tool in its QuickSwap housing. You're going to need a new or newish green mat with plenty of stick. You're going to need at least a quarter sheet of heavy cardstock, which we'll use to cut our stencil. I'm using Recollections brand heavy cardstock from Michaels. It's listed as 110 pound 300 GSM. Standard poster board or Cricut craft board would also be good choices. You also need at least a quarter sheet of a light to medium cardstock, which is what we'll be embossing. My favorite for this is Neenah Exact Vellum Bristol. It's a lightweight cardstock with a nice soft finish, and it's ideal for embossing, but feel free to use whatever light to medium cardstock you have on hand. Your cardstocks can be any color, but I'm using pink for the stencil just to make this demonstration clearer. You need some low-tack tape, such as washi tape or painter's tape. You need a scraper of some kind. You need a pen that fits your Cricut. Any color is fine, but a light color is preferred. You might also want to have a weeding tool or X-Acto knife on hand. Most importantly, you'll need my Braille Sentiments project. I'm sharing that, and you can find the URL in the description of this video. When you click on that link from a computer, you'll be taken to an interim page where you're going to click Open, then Allow. And then Design Space will open to the landing page. There you will click Customize. You will see a canvas with some 3x5 rectangles, each with some dots and a written sentiment. Go ahead and use the Save button to save a copy to your own projects area if you haven't already. We're going to do one sentiment at a time, so I'm going to delete the ones I don't want. So with just the one I want showing, I'm going to save the file again. Then I click Make It. You'll see that it says Pen, Deboss, Basic Cut on the left next to the mat icon. This is the order of operations Cricut assigns. It's not really what we need, but we are still able to work with it. On the Prepare screen, drag your design to a convenient location. I'm going to use 2 spaces down and 2 spaces over. It doesn't need to be exact. You want to put the heavy cardstock on the mat according to where you move the design. So I put mine a little up and to the left of the 2-2 intersection on the mat. Put a piece of tape along one edge of the cardstock. You can see that I have put mine at the bottom. Press the Continue button on screen and click the Browse All Materials button and select Craft Board as the material and click Done. Load the tools as prompted if you haven't already. Your pen goes inside A, and your debossing tool, marked 21, goes inside B. Press the Load Mat button. Press the Go button. The Cricut is going to do a mat check, and then write the text and draw the rectangle on your stencil. While this is drawing, I'll tell you that the writing is optional, but adds a little convenience later at the cost of time now. Feel free to hide the writing or run without a pen if you prefer. As I said, a lighter color is preferred, but I'm using a standard black pen here so you can see what I'm doing. Next, it's going to do a tool check. Then deboss the stencil. Debossing the stencil is pretty much a wasted step, but it's a necessary evil if we want a simple process. When it's done debossing the stencil, it will prompt you to load the blade. So swap out the debossing tool for the fine point blade. And press the Go button. Your Maker will do a tool check, then cut the dots on the stencil. It's doing a double cut because of the craft board setting, and that's good because we want a nice clean cut. If you want to try this but don't have any heavy cardstock, use a lighter setting to match what you do have so you don't damage your mat. But keep in mind that this may affect the quality of your embossing because the debossing tool is going to use that same lighter setting. When it's finished cutting and prompts you, do not unload the mat. Make sure the tape on the edge of your stencil is secure so it can't shift. Then lift up the opposite edge and fold the stencil out of the way, using the tape as a hinge. Now you have access to scrape away the dots left on the mat. Weed out any dots still attached to the stencil and make sure all the debris is out of the way. Flip the completed stencil back onto the mat and press it down. This should put it back exactly where it started, ready to do its job for us. Place the lighter piece of cardstock on top of the stencil. Both of my pieces are the same size, but if they weren't, I could use the drawn line on the stencil as a guide for placing the top layer. Tape the top layer down at the right and left edges, making sure it is flat against the stencil. We're going to run our project again, just like before, so we'll leave the pen in and replace the blade with the debossing tool. Press Go. It's going to do the mat check again, then draw the text and the rectangle, this time on what will be the back side of our embossed piece. The drawn text, which I mentioned is optional, is simply for the sighted person's reference. Next, we will be prompted to load the debossing tool, which we already did, so we can go ahead and press the Go button. The Cricut is going to do another tool check, then deboss the dots directly on top of the holes in the stencil. This is how we will get the nicely formed bumps needed for the Braille. When drawing and debossing is finished, you'll be prompted to load the blade, but we're not going to do that. If this isn't your last copy, remove the debossing tool but leave the blade clamp empty so it doesn't air cut when you press Go again. To keep this simple, I'm only doing one copy, so I'm going to unload the mat at this point. But it's really important that you don't unload the mat until you're sure you're done. Remove the drawn and debossed card from the mat. When you flip it over, you'll see the embossed Braille dots on what is now the front. In case you're wondering, the Braille phrases have already been mirrored so they will read correctly from the bumpy side. Remove the tape carefully so as not to tear the card, and use the drawn rectangle on the embossed piece to cut it down to size with the Braille centered. Now you have a Braille phrase on a 3x5 card you can use as is or incorporate into another project. As a bonus, you may be able to reuse your stencil for the old manual dry embossing method that uses a stylus and a light source. All the pertinent links, as well as any important updates, are in the video description below, so be sure to check that out. I know you're going to ask me how you can make your own sentiments, but I just don't have a straightforward process for that yet. One thing that will help is if Cricut restores the ability to easily keep the physical mat loaded between different virtual mats, so please join me in sending feedback about that. I hope you enjoyed learning how to emboss Braille sentiments with your Maker, and I really hope you'll be able to use this technique to bring a smile to someone's face. It brings a smile to my face when you click the thumbs up button for this video, share it in your favorite Cricut Facebook group, or leave me a comment. And please don't forget to subscribe to my channel before you go. Thanks so much for watching.